watching the David Kis podcast.
All right, and we're back once again with another fantastic guest. You've definitely recognized his work before. Tonight I'm joined with Eddie Finlay. Eddie, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, David. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
So, as a starting point, I ask this with pretty much every actor that I have on. Everyone has different stories as to why they got interested in acting. What was the first time when you ever saw, I don't know, maybe a film or a TV show and thought, huh, acting might be a good career for me?
Actually, okay, that's pretty much that's how I started. Well, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, I was in the modeling business for a while when I started around 15, 16 years old. So I got to see a little bit of showbiz in a different type of spectrum, in a different kind of world. Though I was still going to school and I was involved in drama plus sports and so forth. But something always captivated me with stories. I've always loved telling stories. I've loved reading stories. Um, so I've always had an imagination. I think always, when you're a kid and when you're young, you always kind of sometimes catch yourself alone playing some sort of a role in your head and kind of mimicking whatever that scene might be and kind of living in that world, which is something that always brought exhilaration in my life. And it's just, it was always like a cool thing. And when I started really getting into watching movies, I think, movies like Indiana Jones and Star Wars and um, what's another one that I really love out there? Top Gun. Top Gun, I think, is the one that really just like I was like, well, first of all, I wanted to become a pilot, and I tried to get into the Air Force, and though they told me your eyesight is garbage, so you're not going to be able to fly. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to go into, I'm going to try to do some sort of acting like a pilot, pretty much. But it always captivated me to live through the lens of another character and kind of, create another character and tell that story that certain writer kind of gave out for the world to see. So I've always been captivated with all that, and yeah, getting involved in drama at school, and I did plays from Shakespearean plays to um, you know just I played Dave, what's his name from Greece, Danny Zuko.
Danny,
Played Danny
yeah,
Zuko in
Danny, yeah.
Greece. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So it's just I got to really get involved and get my feet wet in theater for a while, and then from theater I've always been captivated by doing something on film, and because I loved movies growing up. So it's it disconnects us from everyday life and kind of puts us in that seat, and puts us as that character while we're watching it as an audience member. So I think that alone, I said, well, let's take it to the next level. Let's be in that movie and let's be that actor. And um, I remember, going through the modeling business, and I always said, okay, well, now I'm going to try to cross over. And I had a really famous, really good friend of mine, photographer, who was the first one to sort of see it while I was doing Abercrombie and Fitch campaign, and he was like, you should go into acting. There's something you do with the camera, blah blah. And I think that was sort of the sign that I needed. Though I've heard it from other people, but hearing it, hearing it from somebody at that caliber, of a person in the business that he was in, he was really well known, for his art. For him to tell me that, I think that was the sign that I needed. That I started to make that move, and then lo and behold, it happened pretty fast. I think I was 19, 20, 21 around there, where I auditioned for my first series regular on a show called Miami Sands that was filming in Miami. Coincidentally, that's where I'm from, born and raised. And I booked it and was pretty much like out of school for like a good year and a half, just filming it was like a telenovela kind of soap opera kind of show that they were only showing in Europe, and I was doing something like I don't know how many episodes a week, but it was a good training ground for me to work in front of the camera, knowing that it's not as big as theater, so you got to bring it down to a minuscule size because it's all here, you know, all the emotion comes from here. So telling the story through that lens and having that training ground, I fell in love with it, man. And it's just, I became addicted ever since. And from that point on, moved out to Hollywood. I'm probably answering all your questions right now. So, but moved out to Hollywood and, you know, really tried, you know, that was a whole other battlefield. That was a tough one. That one wasn't really easy. That actually told me something that I have to get into a class and work on my craft and really just drown myself in that. So it's not just natural talent at that point. Now you got to really bring skill to it. And it's just it compounds in so many steps where you put that all together and then you kind of make the character your own and you tell that story with objectives and you know, stuff like substitution, because if you've never been in that position before, you have to sort of kind of feel what you're doing. And I was taught something like substitution is something like, you know, bring back a childhood memory, something that makes you feel something that correlates with that scene so you can get through to your objective. So yeah, there we go. That was a long answer.
Well, no, that's fine. That's what I love, and you know, shout out to Indiana Jones and Star Wars. You know, right up there. You know, shout out to those franchises. Great franchises. So, but I must say, I've
100%.
been to
Oh, Superman.
Miami. Oh, Superman. Okay,
Superman.
brilliant. That's one.
Sorry, Superman with Christopher Reeves. That was the other one that I think that really, really just I was just infatuated to possibly play that role in the future, which it never happened, unfortunately. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah. It's never too late. Never too late. Hopefully, you'll be the first or
Yeah.
second guy to be Superman and avoid the Superman curse. So if that happens, let me know because
I'll
that would
take
be
the
great. But
curse.
would you really? Oh,
I'll take
okay,
the
fair enough.
curse.
Okay, that's how
Oh
the
yeah.
super
I'll.
that's how good Superman is on Caliber. No, that's great. I mean, in regards to Miami, it's an interesting place. I think I've been there twice because you know, like I said, I'm in the 813. I was in the 813 district, Tampa, West Florida, not
Yeah.
Southeast. I was in the Gulf of
Right.
Mexico, not on the Atlantic coast. But it's interesting just how you said about the telenovela that you did, yeah, especially how it was broadcast to Europe. This is such a hilarious story. So there, I don't remember what country it was from, but it was a Spanish-speaking American country, and there was some soap opera
Uh-huh.
or telenovela called where the main character was called something like Esmeralda. I think I might have got the name wrong, and she was like kidnapped
It's
in the
very
show.
typical. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was
Oh,
kidnapped
okay.
in the show, and the locals in a bunch of former Iron Curtain countries, they were convinced that she was actually kidnapped, so they started setting up charities and like setting up fundraisers to help get her out. So anytime I hear the word telenovela, I'm always
Oh,
reminded of that
wow.
story because I think, damn, that's crazy. So people were giving their money, the small amount of money that they had, to some Esmeralda who didn't even exist. So that was one of the craziest telenovela stories that I've ever heard.
I mean, we just hit a gold mine. I might do something. We just hit a good gold mine. I might just do something like that. I mean, hey, I got it. I need a paycheck this week. Why not? Um, and mine was in English, by the way. So it's I don't know if the Esmeralda one was in Spanish, but mine it was like one of the first English soap operas. So it was like your typical English soap opera, but they did it in such a span where there is an ending just like a regular Spanish telenovela. And I come from Hispanic background, so it wasn't foreign to me to see that style. When you see mom and dad kind of watch those kind of things growing up as a child, you're like, oh, okay, I see that. I see what's going on here, but let's not make it as cheesy, you know? No offense to anybody who likes soap operas, but you know.
Yeah, no evil twins separated at birth. Yeah, no. I'm an identical twin,
Right,
born in a different country, or no yacht blows up and the character dies,
right.
but then 5 years later he ends up in Monaco. None of those stereotypical conventions of a soap opera. I love
Yeah,
it. So actually, no, because I read online that
yeah,
you did come from a family of, I believe, Cuban immigrants who emigrated in the 50s.
yeah.
So just talk about that a little bit, because I come
That's correct.
from kind of an immigrant family myself. Kind of moved to England and then to America, and then just sort of those two were the primary countries. So growing up from an immigrant
Yeah.
family, what major experiences and memories do you have of that time?
Well, I was obviously born and raised first generation Cuban American in Miami, Florida, in the United States. My parents were born in Cuba, both parents. Whole family, a few generations came from Cuba. And then Finlay is my ancestry that moved to Cuba in the 1800s was from Scotland. And
Yeah.
then from my mom's side, they moved from Portugal and Spain. So then, because everybody in Cuba were from somewhere, was from somewhere else. But I don't know, it was an experience. I really got to learn about what they went through. Them as children coming over to this country when um, the communist regime came in and took everything from my family and everybody, uh, taking your rights and so forth. And so, they were given a chance to leave, and they left, and they came in as actually my father and his brothers came in as orphans. My mother was more in a higher class kind of family, so they were able to come all at once. The whole family was like it's huge family. So hearing their stories and their struggles, and how they always believed that they would, once things got better over there in Cuba, or they got, the dictator out of there, that they would go back to their homes and go back to their way of living, which honestly, when you hear it from any Cuban American or any Cuban born at that time, it was paradise. So it was pretty much just a place to just always be happy. You live, you worked, you had your family, but it was just tropical. The beaches were beautiful. The resources were amazing. It's just one of the biggest resources of sugar and tobacco, and just a lot of business and economical opportunities that were over there. So it's just, as a child, listening to the stories and listening to their struggles and what they had to go through and what they lost, and all the loss that they went through, makes me realize I was really privileged in what I received when I was born here. And pretty much they paved the road for me when they came out here, and they struggled and they built their businesses and they became very successful. My dad built a business from the ground up, though he trial and error, of course, you fall on your face when you try to do things at first, but he finally partnered up with a few people. They built a really great, successful business. A lot of his friends became very successful as well, that also are Cubans, for generation born in Cuba. And it just became a very tight network in Miami, Florida, where Miami became Miami because of that culture. It really did, and I got to see that growing up, and it was really a beautiful thing, and I'm very proud to be part of that. And my my father's story is so special, and my mom's story is so special, that I'm even writing a script, a feature film script, and a pilot for a limited TV series based on my great great grandfather, who was the most famous doctor to ever come out of Cuba. And I mean, there's museums over there about him and everything like that. And I would love to play that role one day. It's he was famous for discovering the transmission of yellow fever from mosquitoes to humans, and how hundreds of thousands of people were dying working on the Panama Canal, being bitten by mosquitoes, and people didn't know why, and how they were just dying from yellow fever. Well, his theories were proven right, where he figured it out, and to this day, it's been marked in history. It's just it's a really cool thing, and I'm writing a pilot on him right now, and on the other kind of story on how they escaped Cuba, um, is a whole other story that I'm writing on the as a feature film, and I think is again that my family was involved in too, so they were involved in that as well. So um, yeah, no, it's a lot of rich history there. The music, the food, just the culture itself, the people, the network of people, the dancing, the it's just the beautiful colors, the coming from the tropical areas of the Caribbean and everything like that. It's just it was implemented into Miami, which is Miami's got that kind of weather too. So when you go to Miami and you see a lot of that flavor, a lot of that kind of culture, the colors, the music. It was all started from the Cubans that migrated there. So I'm very honored to be first generation from that. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Florida, best state in the world. Only state I've been to, but that makes it the best because I haven't been to any other ones. So Florida is the best state in the whole of the United States. So shout out to Florida. And did you
They're
grow
great.
up speaking Spanish and English as well? Did you only grow
I
up
did.
speaking English? Oh, so you speak fluent Spanish
No, I
then?
was actually my family actually. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't cut you off there. But my family actually. My mom and my dad actually told me that I almost failed a grade because I couldn't speak English. So my primary language was Spanish all the way. Now, of course, after so many years, I still speak Spanish. I always call it Cuban Spanish because it's, every depending on where you come from, everyone's got kind of their niche, their way, their slang of speaking Spanish. But um, uh, I'm still trying to keep it together with that. So and trying to keep practicing and so forth with all of that. But yeah, no, it was my first language, and I almost actually failed a grade because I couldn't speak English. So I remember that clearly. I don't remember that, but my family told me that that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest,
So
I can't relate to that more, Eddie. Like it's so weird because like I don't know what this logic is because it's still there. So when I went to Florida, right? So I technically moved there from England. I didn't go as a British citizen, but I moved there from England because I grew up in England before then. So UK citizen,
cool.
lives in England, speaks English with an English accent where the language originated from. So, and I made the mistake of when I filled out my application to go to middle school and high school, I made a very big mistake of telling them that I spoke Hungarian as well. So they would be testing me
What?
every single year. They would take me out of the class and they assigned me some teacher who didn't speak English. I spoke better English than her. And they would give me dictionaries and tell me you have to practice English. Like, bro, I literally grew up where the language started from. I just speak another language at home. It's fine. Like, surely this verifies that I can do it. So, those languages stuff, man, it's crazy relatable. But I always think it's good
Well,
to speak more languages.
well, the cool thing about that is you probably walked in and you were like, "Yeah, I picked up English like that, so I'm good. I'm cool. I'm, just bring this guy to the gifted classes, So
Yeah,
that's pretty funny. That's pretty.
yeah,
I don't even know what Hungarian sounds like, honestly. I wouldn't even know where to start with that, but that's kind of neat. That's a funny story.
yeah. To be honest, it's one of
I
those
love
languages
London, by
where
the
you
way. I've been
can't.
to London.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
Oh no, sorry. To be honest, it's one of those languages where you
yeah.
hear
No,
it,
I
you don't know
was.
where it is.
No, no. I'm like I would never even know that it's Hungarian. Like, oh, that's a like you can kind of you hear like certain uh, you know French,
Yeah.
Italian, you know what that those sound like. You'll hear like maybe Russian or those kind of languages. They get just because of the accent itself. But Hungarian, I wouldn't even know where to. I wouldn't even know. Yeah, so
No, no, don't worry, Eddie.
that's cool.
Tenem Vojalega Shuaki Nemirti. So I just said you're not the only one to not recognize. Again, so it's a cool language though. But Spanish, I'd love to speak Spanish as well, frankly. So it's a give and take,
Sí,
really.
sí, como no, yo entiendo todo lo que tú estás diciendo. So
Perfect.
I just said to you that, yeah, I understand everything you're saying. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, amazing. So I'd like to just go on towards your acting, so and your modeling actually, because that was a lane
okay,
that actually I saw a lot of similarities between your career and Raz Dagon. I don't know if you're familiar with Raz Dagon. I actually don't know where he's from, but he speaks Italian, but I don't think he's from Italy. But he was also a model, and he became an actor. So and actually,
Okay.
I think he looked quite similar as well. So I just found a lot of relatability.
Oh
So
wow.
starting off as a
I gotta.
model, what were your first experiences like modeling? How did you get into that world?
Um, Believe it or not, I was just walking around one time out in Coconut Grove in Miami. I was just walking around with my family. It was a Sunday, and this gentleman approached um, me and my family, and just out of the blue, out of nowhere, and just said, "Excuse me, so sorry to bother you guys." And I kind of vaguely remember this whole thing, and I was a teenager and 15, 16, and he said, "I just needed to confront you. I needed to approach you and just ask you if you've ever been into modeling, or excuse me, if you've ever been interested in modeling." And the funny thing is, I started going through a phase in my life where I was like starting to dress better. I was like looking at magazines and kind of like, like, oh, that would be cool to like look like that, like that dude with built and have, work out, uh, you know, kind of like these fashion, because it was different than what you see today. People were like, not that people are not in shape today, but I'm just saying like it was just strictly that. And, I was just like, oh, I want to build my body this way. I want to look this way. I want my hair this way. Cool. So I just started kind of doing that. And all of a sudden, this guy out of nowhere just approached me and my family and um, just asked me if I was, if I was interested in doing it, if I had ever done it. And he was part of an agency. And I was like, sure, let's do it. So got his contact. He got mine. Of course, back then there were no cellulars, no cellular phones, no none of that. It was like all beepers and weird things. I don't even know if you know what a beeper is, but
I,
it's basically you
I
call this
do, yeah.
number. You do. Okay, okay. So you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. It's like so prehistoric, but yeah. So that's how it started, and then we did kind of a test photo shoot on the beach. Though I was still growing, I was still, sort of. I was in that weird phase where I was still growing, and I was a very skinny guy, trying to start hitting the gym, even though I played sports and everything. But you go through that phase in your teenage years where you're not really filling yourself up yet. And so it was like, we did a test shoot. He was like, well, listen, why don't we get back to you in a few months? Um, but let's see where you are in a few months. We would like to test shoot again because I still feel like you're still aging and you're going in the right direction, blah, blah, blah. Well, during those few months, I got discovered by another agency, um, because of, and it was an agency called Irene Marie, which was actually the biggest agency in Miami at the time, because everything was like very just, boutiques, boutiques, boutiques. Now today it's like all these big corporations, but it was an agency called Irene Marie, and the daughter of the owner of Irene Marie agency went to the sister high school of the high school that I was attending. It was an all boys Catholic high school, and my sister went to this all girls Catholic high school. And we were going to school at the same time, and her she happened to have a friend named Carolyn Marie, and Carolyn Marie was the daughter of Irene Marie, and she was like, "Oh my God, your brother! I think he could model for my mom's agency." Blah blah blah. Well, lo and behold, it was the biggest agency in Miami Beach, and when I met with her mother, um, and right away they just took a liking to me. And even before I signed the contracts, they had me go out on this casting, and I got signed. My first job was with Abercrombie and Fitch with Bruce Weber, and that was a really cool experience itself, because at that point on, I think my first 6 to 7 jobs were with Bruce Weber, which is the gentleman I was speaking to you about before. Just a very generous photographer, really great. And he was the one that kind of saw that in me, the whole acting thing, which is what gave me that answer to move forward.
And what is it like? Let's say you get your job at Abercrombie and Finch, and you turn up to the
Mm.
set. like just in modeling in general, how many photographs did it actually take? Like, is it 500? Is it 1,000? Is it more? Is it less? How many until you get the perfect image?
Was shooting for a campaign like that at that time, um, with somebody like Bruce, it's like a movie set actually. And I didn't know this because I was so new to it, but there's like 50 to 80 people behind him. You got the lighting people, you got the food people, you got the music people, like to get the models in the mood, and the photographer in the mood, and you got the background people, you got it was like people everywhere, and so that was my first experience seeing that. So any job after that that wasn't with Bruce Weber, I was just like, that's it. Wait, you got only 10 people involved in this? Like it was kind of strange, it felt like a movie set after being on movie sets and television sets for, after all of that experience. And, but, I mean, and I'm going on a tangent here, but to clarify on your question, um, hi, if you can repeat that, what was the important part of that question one more time? I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. So like, how many photographs how many shots did they actually take until they get
Oh,
the perfect shot?
um, you know, I'm going to take a good guess here. I would say on one, like I would call it a scene, right? So you're asked to come down. You're wearing the certain attire from Abercrombie. Let's just use Abercrombie as the example. And they pair you up with a girl, or they have you by yourself. I would say each kind of set would probably take about, because he shoots very fast. You hear, and it was all film, so it was probably about maybe 50 shots, maybe less. I think he just knew when he had it. But he took quite a lot. He took quite a lot, but it's not like hundreds. I don't think it was anything like that, but it was like definitely under 100. I will say under 100.
No, I suppose this whole thing of taking hundreds, because I did not really like a shoot once, but I did some project about 3 years ago that was kind of with Canon, and they did, but now because
Okay.
everything's digital, they did like uh, on my project we had like 2,000 images, and we had to go through every one until we found the perfect one. So it was one of those things where I was wondering, all right, like
Yeah.
2,000, like that was a crazy amount, and that slowed down everyone's computer system. I must admit, because 2,000 high
No,
quality
I know.
raw PNG files, like it's unbelievable. So how
Well, I
large those
think
file
I
sizes are.
yeah. Well, I think the integration, when digital came into play, I think things that just changed the game for film and for photography, because somebody back in those days with Mario Testino and Bruce Weber and these guys that I was very blessed to work with, all used film. So when you're using film, you can only, film is so much more expensive, and you can't really, like, you have the whole, you take a photo and you have that screen to kind of test it out and see what it looked like. They're just going with their own two eyes and with their own skill. Like, you really needed the skill to understand what you might be seeing on that development of film. And it was really cool to see. It was fascinating to see digital. When that came out, you were able to shoot thousands, like if nothing, and it was super cheap. The only thing is, yeah, your hard drive might fall apart, but I mean, other than that, um, yeah, no, that's why you didn't shoot more than probably 100, probably because it was film. So digital brought a whole different ball game to the whole business. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there a lot of stress working as a model? Do you have to keep a very strict diet? Like, let's say you're
Yeah.
on a shoot in 2 weeks now, or is it very
Oh,
flexible?
actually, it's, yeah. I mean, not that I never felt the stress. I just think it was something that was a part of me. I liked to stay in shape. I think it was for me. Do I love to eat? 100%. And I love to eat like pizza, and I love to eat everything. But like last night, I had a large pizza on my own. I swear. It's crazy. And then today I'll do a double workout. But yeah, I mean, yeah, because I did a lot of shirtless stuff, and for my modeling career, I did a lot of shirtless things. So of course, you want the six pack to come out. You want, everything to look chiseled and ripped, which also helps out the fact that I was a very skinny kid when I was a teenager. And at that age, you can eat whatever you want and you will metabolize it within seconds. It was hard for me to gain weight. It was like really crazy. So hard to gain weight. And then eventually I filled out to that. But yeah, so yeah, I mean there was some pressure, but it was nothing like what I would do is like I wouldn't eat too much for 2 days and then poof, I was ready to go. So
So I always hear that it's like, almost like a cheat code to go from skinny to big. Like if we take you as the example, like you said you were a skinny kid. If we take Ziz, rest in peace
yeah,
Ziz. He was a skinny kid and then he became big,
yeah,
but about 13 years ago.
yeah.
So I guess it's just one of those things because you hear all the time like. I don't know if I've actually interviewed a model on here before, but I've interviewed people who have done modeling, I guess. And one thing that I
Hmm.
noticed was that with women, I had someone who was in the adult industry on, and she said that she struggled with sort of, I don't remember what, but she struggled with her, you know, her own self image, I guess. And I was just wondering if it was similar for
Right.
male models, or if it was more relaxed, or if it depended on the shoot. So, you know, just one of those things.
I think it depends. I think it just depends. When you shoot with somebody like going back to Bruce Weber, like, they do a lot of shirtless stuff, and if you always go back to their campaigns, these guys are ripped. These guys are in great shape. I mean, so you sort of want to keep that whole thing, for the job, especially you want to keep that there. But then I've done some modeling shoots where I'm wearing baggy clothes, and they flew me out to New Orleans to do an editorial with Nike, and I mean, it was so baggy. I look like a stick figure in that thing. It was kind of funny, but it just depends. It just depends on what you're shooting for, and what the brand is, and so forth. So
Yeah, was there
yeah.
any time when you were modeling on a shoot and you had to wear a certain type of clothing, and when you wore it, you maybe looked at yourself in the mirror and went, "This is so not me." Like how anyone thinks like this is what I would wear in real life. Like, and what
Yeah.
would that be?
My God, I wish I could show you the picture, and I can't find it. And actually, I'm glad I can't find it. It's I shot with this girl in this editorial, and I don't remember what the editorial was, but they had her in this black ballerina. She was a blonde girl, really nice girl, and she in this black ballerina kind of like attire, and then they had me almost wearing this ballerina-ish tight, skin tight black attire too. And I was just like, what am I doing? Like I'm not getting paid enough for this. Like this is, you know what I mean? It's like this is kind of, and people were like, oh, these photos are fantastic and they're so amazing and you look great. And I'm like, what? It's just, can we get this done already? I mean, I got to go to the gym. I look so skinny in this. Like it's just it was quite embarrassing, but it's the job. You got to do it. And but I've been very fortunate to wear a lot of great stuff. But yeah, that was that one thing I do remember that I was just like, what am I wearing? Like I don't think I could even breathe in it. It was
Yeah.
so tight. I mean, now I understand what Superman feels like.
Yeah, it all comes back to Superman. Shout out to Christopher Reeves. So, yeah, no, but that's like I was not expecting that answer, frankly, about the ballerina suit. So I'm
Yeah,
glad that that shoot is over. And
yeah.
did you ask anyone at the time like why is this a good idea? Did you ask anyone that? Did you get an answer, or was it just one of those things?
As boisterous as I usually am, um, I was just kind of like, I think I didn't even have to say anything. I think you just saw it on my face, like, what, what is this? Oh, okay. Can we hurry? It's like, It was kind of one of those things. And thank God it was a quick day. Because to wear that all day would have been, I would have gone mad. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I had that once on this Canon project, which was kind of I don't even know what it was about, to be honest. But we were in this dark, creepy cellar, and it was about I don't know the Fahrenheit. It was about 110 degrees Fahrenheit in that cellar in like peak
ouch.
winter in the UK, and we're there for hours and hours because we're doing this. We needed a dark room, and the cellar was the only dark place where we could get a nice matte black background. So we were there all the time, and
Yeah,
then imagine that it's kind of like a sauna in Finland in the winter. You're in the extreme heat, you're sweating, you're angry. The camera battery is about to explode because of the heat. Then you go out, and there's that harsh wind that
right.
hits you. So for me, and I was just there waving a light around, and I was going, yeah, do you know what? I think I'm gonna go home actually. like that was unbelievable, man. Oh, so that it was a good shoot. It was a good shoot. Shout out to Canon, but yeah, it was a tough shoot.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So just
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, going on, but I
That's
guess you
great.
were lucky.
I'm so, I mean, at least you get to walk out. At least, hopefully, they let you walk outside and cool down. I mean, if it was that cold, so
Yeah, yeah, they did. But I guess you were lucky in that regard. You're Miami now, California, year round, pretty good weather in both areas. So
yeah.
that the heat
Oh,
is always good.
Ca- California, definitely, I got to say, probably the best weather in the world. I'm gonna give it that. At least Southern California. I think consistently, like today, I mean, I got my windows open. It's just a gorgeous day. I think we're getting hit with a little bit of a heat wave, but when it's a heat wave, it's kind of a joke because you don't deal with the humidity. You'll deal with triple digits, but you don't deal with that excruciating heat that you start sweating and you just can't stop sweating. You just can't cool down. It's like it's a dry heat, but it's a mild climate. It's considered a mild climate, especially when you live near the ocean like I do. So
Yeah.
I love the weather out here. You can't beat it. Yeah, I have a lot of moisturizer because I mean it's dry, but for the most part it's very comfortable. So every time I go back to Miami to visit my family, I'm like I'm like how do you guys do it? And it's like I have to readapt myself. And I'm like changing my clothes constantly. I probably shower twice or three times a day just because it's just I'm not used to it anymore, you know? You wake up in the morning and the car in Miami is like drenched in water because of the humidity.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's what I noticed as well.
yeah,
Because I've never been to California, but obviously Florida. We both have experiences there. And I went to
yeah.
Cyprus about I don't know 5 months ago maybe, and it's a great place by the way. I love Cyprus,
Mm.
and Cyprus is very similar, I think, to
Oh,
that
cool.
it to California in the sense that it has that dry. It's in the it's in the Levantine area of the Middle East, so it's dry,
Yeah.
it's rocky,
Oh well.
grass doesn't really live there. It doesn't survive there at all. So it's a great place. But then you get this was in like still in the winter in the UK, so you get up there, it's the cold wind and the rain is just hitting your face. You get on the plane, then 4 hours later you go out and it's like you're in Florida or California again. Yeah, I took off my hoodie immediately. I was like,
Wow.
bye, I don't need that, I don't need that anymore. Just gave it, I might as well have given it to someone. But yeah, California, I
Right.
think I think the weather there is amazing. I've never been. I'd love to go one day, but I think I will
Yeah,
always
you got
keep
to
that
try it,
Florida
man.
pride. I think I will always keep that Florida pride
Yeah,
in
you got
me.
to try it. Well, no, I listen, born and raised there, so I love it there. I'm a big Miami everything, like from sports to just the culture itself. I'm huge with that. California, I would say, is probably one of the most beautiful states, if not the most beautiful state in the United States. 'Cause you got the mountains, you got the ocean, you got the desert, you got foliage and greenery. You got the redwood trees up north, and then you got the beaches, and I mean, it's just it's really got everything. Um, you know, it's I'm not going to bash We're not going to go into politics on this, but anyway. So, but California is a beautiful, beautiful state. It's a gorgeous state, and like I said, the weather is fantastic. And it's just, it's a really unique place. And if you come out here, let me know. Love to. We'll go out or something. We'll hang for a little bit, huh?
All right, well, I appreciate that. I need to sort a couple things out America-wise
Mhm.
first before I can go back there. But definitely, or if you're ever in Europe somewhere, or hell, we might be in Mongolia at the same time. It's who knows. So any
You
place,
never
any
know.
time. Yeah, exactly. You might be there on a shoot. I might be there because
You never know.
I got on the wrong plane. So it's one of those things where we'll end up somewhere. That's for sure. So I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you because obviously you grew up in Miami. Miami has that American culture, but Southern Florida, big, as you said, Cuban diaspora there. What are the main differences that you have seen between Florida and Miami, especially, and California? What are the major cultural differences?
I mean, it's okay. So California, at least the similarities are there for sure. I mean, in when you come into, let's say, Southern California, especially like Los Angeles, where I'm at, or Miami, you better know your Spanish. That's for sure. Especially in Miami. Miami is, I would say, the primary language in Miami is Spanish, 100%. Um, and I mean, everybody, even as they call it, the gringos, they even understand Spanish in Miami. So it's like so you should know your basics and the foundation over there of that language. And in California, I mean, you can get away with more with just speaking. Actually, there's a lot of different languages out here. I hear it all the time, but besides English, Spanish, I would say, would be, and I would say for the majority of the country, Spanish is pretty much the second language for popularity in this country. Now, for cultural differences, one thing I do find that's different, at least in Los Angeles, I know Northern California is a little bit different. People come together a lot. If you go to San Diego, festivals and cultural festivals and stuff, people come together a lot. But I find that in LA, and it's probably due to traffic and how widespread the city is. It's very segregated. Um, so it's really hard to find, these like art festivals that everyone just comes together and just celebrates, or it's celebrating, let's say, Puerto Ricans, or the culture of Puerto Rico, or there's a Cuban festival that's in Long Beach, which is about 40 minutes from south of where I live. Um, it's like stuff like that most people don't even find out about because it's just I think this city kind of is a little bit segregated when it comes to the cultural stuff. It's getting better, but that is the difference. I think in Miami, everybody comes together. I feel like you see these, you go to Coral Gables and or Coconut Grove, and they'll have like Hispanic month, or wine tasting, and there's music. I mean, you find music in grocery stores. It's insane. People bring their culture everywhere in Miami, Florida. Um, Now, when you come out of Miami in Florida, I do notice a huge difference. It's like, okay, okay, we're in America. See if that makes any sense. I mean, it's because Miami's like really like it's like a country on its own. It really is. With how it's based around the Hispanic culture. So it's really unique. There's nothing like it in the United States whatsoever. So it's really unique to see. And in California, it's spread throughout. Los Angeles is very heavy on its Spanish, and a lot of Mexican culture, which I really appreciate. I've gotten to learn a lot about the Mexican culture out here. Culinary wise, they're amazing with their food. I find the food out here in Los Angeles, or in California, like pretty much all of California, all throughout, because of the Mexican culinary culture, it's outstanding. There are a lot of Michelin stars out here, restaurants and everything like that you get to experience on its own. And the nightlife is very unique in Miami. The nightlife is crazy in Miami. Things close at 5 in the morning. Out here, things will close at 2. Thank God. because, it's just, I don't know. I just find like you can focus more and you can get down to business. People are very, I mean, they hustle in Miami too. So it's like, I can't really compare on the whole career, what people, taking their careers seriously. I think they have a saying in Miami, we work hard, but we play harder. And that's kind of what it is over there. And here, people just kind of, they have their thing, their niche, and they take it seriously out here. All cultures do it. They'll go out, they'll do their thing, and they're ready for the next day. But I mean, that's the best way I can define. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of places in California I haven't seen yet, but from what I have seen, those are the differences, I think, plus similarities.
Mm. No, actually, that is something that I find relatable again with Florida in the sense that I remember when I moved there. This was about 3 months into me living in Florida. We had neighbors, and I
Yeah.
believe, well, thinking back to the flag, I think they were from Guatemala because that I think that was the flag that they had out.
Hmm.
And I'm not Guatemalan. I don't speak Spanish. I don't have Guatemalan citizenship or anything. But they knocked on our door
Yeah.
and they asked, "Hey, look, we're having a family thing because something great. I think one of our family members in Guatemala got their doctorate. Do you want to come with us down to this party area?" And we were like, yeah, sure, cool. So I really do think that's a great thing about Florida in general. Miami probably even more intense, but I think Floridians in general do like
Yeah.
to unite more. You see this all the time with I remember in 2017 when Hurricane Irma came, there was recently just another hurricane in that region. There were a lot of small
Yeah.
businesses that gave out free food. Like, let's say you had a restaurant as your business. All right, the day after the
Yeah.
hurricane went through, everything was free. No one had to pay. And then because of that, you'd think,
Right.
oh, maybe you'd lose money. But no, because of that loyalty, that community, people would come back. So I think that's one of the best things about Florida, frankly,
100%.
no matter where you go, is that people do come together a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think, I've been through a few hurricanes down when I was living in Miami. And yeah, people do come together, they help each other out. I mean, you kind of saw the world do that during the pandemic. I mean, Los Angeles came together. They kind of did. And people don't really, I'm not bashing Los Angeles. I love it here. But you don't see that teamwork like you see in those areas in Florida and probably places like, in the South where people do come together and these kind of smaller towns and everything. But I did see in the pandemic, during the pandemic time, that everybody really did feel like they did help each other out. They gave out a lot of free food. A lot of these restaurants fed people, gave out, waters and it just, it's, I think it's like, it's really interesting to see when there's a big crisis, how people do come together. Yeah, a lot of people fend for themselves, but for the most part, I think a lot of people just really do help each other out when that happens. And I remember going through those hurricanes in Florida, Miami. People would like bring out their chainsaws, help each other, cut down the trees that fell over from next door, and you know, clean all the rubbish that you see all over the ground. And it was just, it was really nice to see. I do see a little bit more of a okay. The difference is here we go. This is the difference. Um, People actually say hi in Florida when you're walking around. Oh, hi. In Los Angeles, no, there's no hi. You just kind of, they just kind of do their thing. New York is kind of like that too, where nobody says hi. Everyone just kind of minds their own business, and they just, they got to get to A and B, or from A to Z, in their cars, and then it's like traffic, and people are sometimes it's very high intensity, kind of like stressful with the whole traffic thing, and just to go to the grocery store it could take an hour, not in just the process alone, and it's like 2 miles down. So that's why I work out at home now. I don't go to the gym anymore. I don't do it because it's just the process of getting in the car, fighting through traffic, finding parking, and then finally hitting the. I'm already tired. I'm mentally exhausted. So it's like, so the difference here is like people kind of just sort of mind their own business, and but I do see that when there is a time of crisis where people have that time to really think and stop, and they do come together. So people here in Los Angeles are great. So they are. But I do love my Miamians and, my Floridians. So definitely. I agree with you on that. You said Tampa, right?
Yeah, Tampa. That's right. Yeah, Tampa.
Tampa. A lot of Cubans up there too. I got some friends that are Cuban that are up there as well. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, more Dominicans in my experience from the Dominican Republic in Tampa. Actually, what I've seen,
Okay.
I remember my first day in middle school. I was friends with the only other new kid in the school whose name was Johan, and he was from the Dominican Republic. He didn't speak English, I didn't speak Spanish, but somehow we were buddies for that day. So wherever he is now, shout out to Johan. But yeah, no, I love that, and I think
Johan.
actually,
All right.
yeah, Johan's a G. So I actually think that's kind of interesting because when I think of that, Europe has that dichotomy as well, where you take a place like England, especially London. London isn't really my favorite place in the world. A lot of people there, they're running around with their
Hmm.
mobile phones in their hand, pretending like they have to make a phone call in
Yeah.
5 minutes when realistically no one's calling them. Whereas you go up to maybe a place
Nobody's
like
doing it. Yeah.
Scotland. Scotland is a great place because people are a lot nicer in Scotland, in my experience. And just even
Yeah.
in mainland Europe in general, like Greeks, Italians, Slovaks,
Yeah.
Hungarians, Czechs, Germans, they do have that sense of community. But
Yeah.
about Los Angeles, the traffic, I mean, I've heard stories like traffic is one of the worst things that can
Horrible.
happen. I was in Germany, by Frankfurt International Airport, driving through, trying to cross the border, and we were stuck in Frankfurt in a non-moving traffic line for 2 hours. And at one point, I was like, "Do you know what? I'm just gonna
Wow.
get out the car and walk to Austria. Like, it's gonna take me days, but it's gonna be a lot more efficient than this." So, traffic really is a
Wow.
nightmare. I
Yeah.
understand why Michael Douglas's character in Falling Down went crazy because he was stuck in traffic. So,
Oh yeah. 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 No, it's you go insane. You can go insane. So especially if you're like trying to get somewhere at a certain time and you just can't gauge what I mean, from minute to minute, the traffic can get super heavy and it just can get you late. That's why the beauty of podcasts and stuff like that came about because people spend so much time in places like these, on their mobile phones or in their cars. So what do? Listen to something great. Besides music, you can listen to something educational or an interview like this one. And it's like it's that's the beauty. Like some people just were like, oh well, if I'm going to spend all this time in my car in traffic, instead of being upset and mad at the whole time, maybe I could do something productive. Hey, why don't I
yeah.
learn? I don't know, the ABCs. Let me get a podcast for that. I mean, it's just it's kind of it's cool that technology has brought us to that point, and there are a lot of positives about technology. Like it's able to give us, you're in the UK, I'm here in Los Angeles. We're able to have this interview. I think it's pretty unique. Now there are downsides. We all know this, and I think people get so stuck, like you just mentioned, in London, which I did enjoy London, but I've been to Scotland and I love Scotland. But I do notice, you're right, people stick to their phones and they forget there's a whole world around them. And I think we have this disconnect with people these days in relationships, and you know things are taken out of context, and just there's that whole connection with people has changed due to social media, and us just constantly being on our phones. I think we lost that special thing. Like I have a huge pet peeve of mine. When I go to dinner with whoever, it doesn't matter, that there cannot be a phone. I refuse, because that will set me off. Like it's just my dad. I think it's from my dad. My dad is like, he would grab my phone and probably toss it if he could, if he saw me on the phone during dinner time, because that's a time where you're supposed to connect with the people you care about. And it's just, there's nothing better than a wonderful, whether it's simple or complicated kind of conversation, to kind of connect with others. And, so the negatives are there, but the positives are definitely there as well. I mean, we can make money off our phones being at home. It's crazy, or iPad or cameras, and just use that. And we can connect with people all around the world. And I do agree with you, love Scotland. The people were fantastic. Like it just, amazing place. I've been to Greece, love the Greeks. Um, Paris is more like LA. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's just, bonjour. Yeah, it's that whole thing. And then, it's funny to see though how people do, just depending on where you're from. Bigger cities tend to have people who are busier on technology, I guess, you know, on
Yeah,
their technological devices.
it's beautifully put, and I think it is that, yin yang type thing where it's like you have positives and negatives as
Yeah.
well. But I mean, with the phones, I completely agree with you, Eddie. Like, I have multiple phones, I have multiple phone numbers. A lot of people ask why. It's genuinely just like so I can protect myself from bad people online. It's just one of those things really where
Okay.
different names, different phone numbers. So in case one phone number runs out of money and I need to make an emergency call, I have a backup. It's one of those type of things. And
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
when I do a podcast like this, or even when I'm just working on the computer, sometimes I'll just like throw my phone out the room just so it's like, get out of here, I don't need it. Or like, I don't know if you've seen the film, but I'm not a big guy on tattoos, but I swear I might get a tattoo on my arm like Lenny from Memento that says "Never answer the phone" because everyone's on their phone
Oh
now.
yeah. Yeah.
So, so I want to
That
get away
actually,
from it.
that'd be no, 100%. And I think we all have to manage our time on there, on anything, whether it's phones or the Netflixes and the television and I think I pay for every subscription and I don't even watch anything. Like I'd rather be doing something productive, which a lot of the times it's on the phone. But like right now, like just I'm studying the script for this movie that I'm going to be filming next week in San Francisco, and so I've been trying to shut all the distractions out, and just but what am I studying the script on? An iPad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we can't really avoid it, but you can avoid what you do on it. You can manage your time wisely on what you do on these devices. So I think it's evident that we just have to sort of be good with time management. I think with all these things and know when to disconnect and have quiet time. Have that quiet time. I think that quiet time is very precious these days, especially when you and I come from bigger cities, and where everything's a hustle and bustle constantly, and all you hear is noise and people are running around that you don't really have time for yourself. And I think the only way to do that is just kind of just disconnect from all of it. I've been itching to just like take a vacation on my own to some sort of deserted island and just it's just do not answer one email. Of course, that's when I win the lottery,
Yeah.
and everyone's
Yeah.
trying to reach me, and I can't. Of course, you know how it is, Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's important for everybody today. I think a really peaceful time for me, though it doesn't sound peaceful, is working out. I think that's like my natural drug. Just working on it kind of releases the dopamine and the serotonin and those kind of chemicals in your brain and in your body and makes you feel better, just naturally. So it's a lifestyle that I've created for myself. I've been doing it forever, and I think um, that's kind of my me time. Yeah, but I still, how do I play my music? Phone. So
Yeah.
there you go. So it's kind of like it's almost like I hate the fact that we need it to have those little things. Because let me tell you, I'm sure you've had the situation where maybe you lost your phone once, or it broke, or something happened where you didn't have it for like a day, maybe 2 days, I don't know. And oh my gosh, what we take for granted because we now need these things. And good example in Tampa, being in Florida, when those hurricanes come in and the power goes out, okay, no Wi-Fi, no electricity, no connection, nothing works, and you realize, oh my God, like it's the end of the world. And it's just kind of what depending on things like that, it's like it kind of sucks sometimes. And everything is like through technology right now, and that's the thing. And what Fight Club has the best. The movie Fight Club has one of the best um, quotes that has stuck to me throughout my life is, "Don't let the things you own you."
Yeah.
And I really, I mean, that really just opens up my eyes to like, you have to sort of, balance is the key, I think, is the word that I'm looking for. You have to know how to balance everything because, and be self-sustained, like understand that you got, you know what? Don't pick up your phone or don't turn on the TV. Pick up a book. You know what I mean? Read the book. These are things that have been given and handed out down to us for centuries. Like, things that we can be doing that it's actually better for our brains, you know? So I don't know. These are just little things that I try to integrate and keep in my life because I think it's important. It's healthy for the mind, the body, and the soul. So
Yeah, and it's also that thing where, yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with Eddie as an avid gym goer, yourself. That quote, I believe it, I don't know if it's Roman or Greek, but some philosopher from the ancient times said it's a tragedy, and this is very much ad lib, but it's a tragedy for any man to go through their life and not know what they're physically capable of. Yeah, fine, I agree, perfect. But I also think the tragedy is equal to not know what you're mentally capable of. Now, I'm not saying go through
yeah,
some horrendous stuff, but maybe learn another language, maybe learn about, I don't know, maybe learn
yeah,
Armenian cooking, so you become like a master at Armenian cuisine. Just
yeah.
whatever
Why
that can
not?
better your knowledge of the world, and that's what I think. And I also think the reliance on the machines, as I like to say it. I said this with my friends in Prague. Like there's a famous train station in Prague, Hlavní Nádraží. I'm sure I butchered that name, but there's a perfect example there. You have the escalator stairs, and you also have the regular steps, which are like 50 steps. Everyone, like robots, are going
Right,
up on the escalators, and no one's going up on the actual steps. I'm like the reliance on the machines again. So it's
right,
it just is one of those
right.
things. And I think with cars as well. And Eddie, you're the perfect guy to ask this. I'm gonna keep staying focused on Miami, cars and traffic. So when I was in Frankfurt, stuck in that horrendous traffic line, I was thinking to myself, "Damn, I need to ask an expert this." So, Eddie, what do you think? If I'm stuck in traffic, should I get a Gallo 12 or a Gallo 24?
Okay. Well, from my experience, no matter what, when in doubt, always the 24.
Yeah,
Always. It's just faster.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It absolutely is. Who
Yeah.
who knew that
I
pizza
mean,
places made vehicles as well? Shout out to that restaurant.
pizza place. What are you talking about? What pizza places? Great pizza, by the way. If there is a Gallo 20, I should open up a place called Gallo. Honestly,
Yeah,
Gallo's Pizza. If there isn't one already, which I find it hard to believe, there's got to be one around this world. 8 billion people. There's got to be one out there. I mean, there's so many fans of just that scene alone, which is kind of fascinating to me on how that really just, I mean, I've seen people sell T-shirts on it. I just Googled it and I was like, somebody's selling a T-shirt on the Gallo 24, quote. It's really unique. It's really unique, and just that alone is really just it's blown my mind how it's not open, not that it's opened doors, but it's really opened doors for fans and for me to connect with others and them being admirers of the franchise, and God bless everyone's soul of Agent Dunn,
yeah.
which I'm very blessed and fortunate and flattered, honestly. And I'm still waiting for Vin Diesel to call me up and be like, "Oh, we need Agent Dunn to come back some way or the other," because I really do feel if Paul was still around, God bless his soul, um, I think I would have been back. I think I would have been back. I became friends with Paul during that time, and not to bring down the mood of this whole thing, but it's just obviously it was disastrous with what happened to him, and you know, but with what happened to him, I guess the blessing that came out of that was a lot of people came together. His Reach Out Worldwide charity is enormous. Fuel Fest came together. Cody Walker brought that together. Caleb, his other brother, helped out as well. I got to know the family a little bit more. I haven't been to a few Fuel Fest lately, but the last time I went, Tyrese was there. We just reconnected as well. Um, And really the only one I really didn't work with from the main cast was Vin Diesel because he wasn't in the second one. But I would love to. I mean, I'd love to get back on there. I get a lot of fans that actually are like, "You, I hope you're on. I hope you're in the 10th one. I hope you're in the 10.5 one because now it's like two parts. So I hope you're. It's like, and I'm like, there's nothing I can do. It's got to come down to Neil Moritz and the studios. So I'm hoping that they're like, oh, who is it that we haven't brought back yet? Oh shit, let's bring back Agent Dunn. Let's but this time he won't. He's like a corrupt, like I don't know, cop or something, and we bring back that joke one way or the other, in the movie or something. You know what I mean? So before I get blown up or something, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, it's been a blessing. It really has been to be part of that whole franchise. And it's really cool to see how people still recognize me from there. It's maybe I haven't aged, I don't know, but it's been a long time. It's been 20 plus years, I think. So since I've been on that movie. So it was a fun, it was not only fun, but it was just one of those experiences that like it's just like no other. You're surrounded by the culture of cars, which I love cars. Um, with these stars, I got to work out with Paul. I got to hang out with Tyrese, and I got to hang out with Ludacris, and I got to hang out with James Remar and Eva Mendes, and Eva Mendes is also Cuban American from Miami too. Now she's out here. I think she's still out. She's out here in Los Angeles, but it's it was a really great experience working with John Singleton as the director, and just that whole collaboration of actors and the story itself. It was really fun, really really fun, and it was very high budget too. So you got everything you wanted. I think I even got a PlayStation for as a gift. I'm like, all right, here we go. I can get used to this. So, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Definitely get Agent Dunn back then
So
because maybe
yeah,
you'll be the first one to get
24.
GTA 6. So that's
Oh
so
man,
yeah, definitely get Agent
that would
Dunn
be
back.
awesome.
Get Agent Dunn, get Carter Verone back. Anyone from 2Fast 2Furious out of the franchise, I feel like that was the last one that was somewhat logical. No one was going to space, no one was going to Siberia. You were just in Miami, chilling, cruising, drifting,
Yeah,
street racing. So
yeah,
that's kind of, and the reason why I loved
yeah.
it so much, the reason why I like that movie so much is because there is a bit of relatability. Obviously, I was never, as a 14-year-old, street racing in the streets of Tampa. If
No,
any American government officials are watching that, I definitely was not doing that. But it's just one of those things where I like
right.
the culture, and just the style and the clothing of that time. I really do like the early 2000s. I kind of wish that was a time when I was sort of the age I am now then, because I was like, that would have been technologically perfect for me because you weren't inundated with technology. You had a flip phone Nokia brick, it was good
Right,
quality, you were harder to
right.
reach.
Yeah,
So it's one of those things where I feel
yeah,
like that time was a
yeah,
little bit better.
yeah. And it forced us to actually do some more legwork on getting anything done. I found we were less lazy, you know. I think today we're lazy, if you ask me, because of technology. Though, like again, there's a lot of positives, but I agree with you. That time was really special. I think the attire, the colors, the edge that Miami had. Um, there was something very special about it. Even in the '90s, I loved Miami. I mean, that's Miami just was a really because I actually moved out here to finally moved out here 100% 2001 around there, which is weird because I've moved out here and then what do I booked a TV series to go back to Miami. I'm like Miami kept calling me back, man. So I did this TV series called um, Ocean Avenue, which was with Megan Fox. I was the lead, one of the leads on it with Megan Fox, Rebecca Ferguson, which she's huge. Um, and I was just, it was a really cool experience too. I did like about 145 episodes on there. And during that show is when I booked Bad Boys 2, and then I booked Too Fast, Too Furious. So it was like an amazing year for me. and just, all it coming to me all at once like that, and being so busy and feeling like I was on top of the world, and then, of course, this business, there are a lot of ups and downs. You're really never in full control because you have so many people coming together, especially as an actor. You really don't. People are telling you when you need to work, like when you have to work or when you get hired. And that's why I'm taking the role of producer these days as well, because as a producer, you have more control of what you want to do, when you want to do. Now, it's not easy, it's not sexy, like being in front of the camera, but that's, I've noticed that a lot of actors are taking both roles, producer and actor, on the same film, just so they can still do what they love with the craft, but they know that you're going to sleep less because you better have a good team, because you're going to have to do a lot of behind the camera stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's also a lot of people who I have interviewed have in the past have also said similar things where they're starting to do more things. And I also think I don't remember who said this.
Yeah.
It might have been Belinda Owino, to be fair, but I don't remember exactly who told me this. But it's also the thing of you're preventing a monopoly then, because then the producers don't have full control over you if you're also a producer. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
no, I want to do this, but I'm also acting in it. All right, fine, because you're the producer, right? So there is a less monopoly, and I always think less monopoly is better because it allows everyone a fair chance to do whatever they want and go where they're treated best, as Andrew Henderson would say. But yeah, just about that
Hmm.
whole thing, and I think it's great. Like and one thing that I really loved about your Instagram, we've been speaking in the DMs a little bit, is that you always share, and I think this is a key tenet to your success, is that you always share motivational quotes. You always put the music in there. You always put the audition tapes in there. You always get yourself out there, and I always think that the world is. I think people in general are. Someone said, "Oh, people stay away from negativity." I think that's garbage because people used to watch public executions back in the day. That wasn't a positive thing, seeing someone get murdered in front of you. But you always keep that positive
Yeah.
vibe going on your Instagram. So I also think that's another great thing about you, especially, is that you always have that positive energy.
It's hard, because we all have challenges every day, and personal challenges with people that are in our lives. Parents getting older, and relationships, and it just even relationship with yourself. Um, you may wake up one day and just not be feeling it, you know, and you have to find that drive, and sometimes that's not easy. And but it's the mind over matter thing, going back to a little bit of the working out stuff and all this, if you can get there mentally, you will get there physically. And I am a true advocate about that, mind over matter. And I think sometimes it just takes a quote. And I post that because not only did it hit me when I saw it, but I'm like, you know what? This is the way I feel. I'm going to put it out there. And if somebody connects with it, great. And I, most of the time, get hearts on those quotes. It might be a quote that doesn't sound positive, um, but somebody relates to it at that moment in time in their lives. And I'm really big on that. I just, I guess it's just a natural thing in me about helping others. I've been exploring that a little bit more, and I think I kind of started that just by posting those stories. And and I like, when I post stories of working out, I what brightens my day. I'm not trying to show off, but what brightens my day is when somebody gets back to me and be like, "Oh my God, that just motivated me. How do you do it? That just motivated me to get started, or that just motivated me to do my workout today. That's what I needed to see." And I was just like, right on, man. That's kind of, there's nothing better than the feeling of helping others, when you're selfless, and you can just put something out there that you connect with, and that can connect with other people. Whether it's through a quote, whether it's through, um, working out, or an action, or being at a specific place that you take a picture of, and maybe tagging it with a certain song, with certain lyrics. I have found a little bit of an art in that. And I kind of, it's kind of like we express ourselves in different ways. And I have found that, you know, doing that in that way has connected with a lot of people, like, including yourself. So I really thank you for that. That means a lot to me that you said that, because um, I feel like I'm onto something, and I don't know what it is yet, but it's just who I am. I've always been lucky to be told that I have this certain energy that motivates people and just brightens people. But I've had people also intimidated by that too. So, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just trying to be me. And I'm just hoping that people see that as a positive. So,
And I think being yourself, not just towards you specifically, but also to anyone else, is that is the main duty. That is the primary duty of everyone in this world. I think, to be themselves. Because why are you going to waste
right.
time pretending to be someone else? It doesn't make any sense. But also, I think this whole thing
No.
of being intimidated by energy. I'll be honest, Eddie. It might be because I'm far away. I'm not intimidated by you. We can meet up somewhere, if you want. But I'm not intimidated by you. But being intimidated by
I'm the
someone's
most No, absolutely, man. And as for, I'm the most approachable guy. Like, honestly, I'm super approachable. I'll talk to anybody. Like, I don't believe I'm better than anybody else. The only person I need to prove that to is myself. That's the only thing I can do. Like right now, having this conversation, I have to tell you, David, I feel better. I'm going through some personal things too, and not to get into it because I won't, but it's one of those things where just having this conversation alone reminds me of the good that I have and the blessings that I have, and how I can use that to maybe motivate somebody else or other people, or just brighten somebody's day. I don't know. The point is, just exude that kind of positive energy out there for the world to see, and um, that there's nothing better than that. It's better than money. It's better than cars. It's better than It just, I think we tend to forget. We get so busy in our lives. We tend to forget to connect with people like that. And if somebody can connect with a quote that I put up there because they relate to it at that moment in their time, that's then, without trying to do a job, I'm doing my job.
Yeah, totally. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are negative, so I think it's always good when you do see that positive aspect to it. And I think positivity breeds more positivity, right? Like, it's very
Yeah.
difficult, I think, if you surround yourself with positivity all the time. And I'm not saying like cult behavior where everything is rainbows and fairies and unicorns, but just to have a positive attitude, or just that we've spoken about Romans and Greeks, that stoic Marcus Aurelius meditations style attitude where, okay, no problem. And yeah, I appreciate what you said. I'm glad that this conversation has made you feel better, Eddie. I really do appreciate that. That is always something that I
Yeah.
love to hear. Now, I was just checking your Instagram. I will admit, Eddie, to you only, that I was going through all of your Instagram posts, to think about talking points with you, or, questions or topics of discussion. And I saw that, you put up some posts, and I believe the pictures were in Venice, Italy. So I ask a lot of my guests this. Is there any country that you haven't yet been to that you would love to go to, just to either see or to actually work on a project there?
Well, definitely, some of the ones that I've been to, I would love to work in. I mean, just like a place like Santorini is like walking in a painting. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. Venice, Italy, I thought, like, I'm always thinking like some kind of a James Bondish kind of movie, Mission Impossible kind of thing, to do something there. Which, believe it or not, I was collaborating with a director when we were thinking of doing that. But maybe hopefully in the near future. But a place that I haven't been to, huh? Maybe, I mean, I haven't been to Portugal or Spain. I would love to sort of, you know, bounce around there, maybe work there. I hear Spain is like economically doing really well now. That's what I'm gathering from a lot of people wanting to go over there. So like, but the beauty of Madrid from pictures that I've seen, Barcelona, you know, just there's a lot of beauty out there, and anything like near Morocco. So I would love to go to Morocco. Morocco's another place because there's a rawness to it with all the colors and you know I think they shot. Correct me if I'm wrong. One of the John Wicks in Morocco. I think I'm not. It seemed like
I'm not
Morocco. I think it
I'm
was
not
the
sure.
third one. I'm not sure, but it's. I was like, oh, you know, and I've seen so many pictures of it, and you know, Turkey. I'd love to see Istanbul. Um, I'd love to work there too. I mean, that would be kind of an experience on its own. Croatia, another place that I haven't been to yet that I would love to see and possibly work in. You know, what's I'm drawing a blank here, but what is the famous TV series that was filmed there? Pretty much, it was oh my
In
gosh,
Croatia,
with the
in
dragons.
Croatia.
Yeah, yeah, the TV series that was so famous.
Did
With the
it like
dragons
become did it
and
become terrible in the end? Did everyone kick off at the end because of how bad the ending was? Because I don't know, I don't watch
the
medieval
last
stuff, but
season was not the best. The last season wasn't the best, but I should be slapped in the face for forgetting this, honestly.
oh,
It's
well, that's fine.
where you had the yeah the dragon lady and
Blonde hair,
the White Walkers, blonde hair, yeah.
yeah. Uh, not
The
Lord of
White
Dragon.
Walkers. The White Walkers are like,
Oh, I know, I know.
why am I? It's not Lord of the
Game of
Rings.
Thrones. It's Game of Thrones. That's what it
Game
is.
of Thrones.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If you could come through the screen and slap me right now, because this is just, I cannot believe that was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Not, wasn't so happy about the last season, but other than that, they filmed in Croatia and a lot of the stuff that they filmed was out there. And I can't believe I forgot that name. It's just, gosh, what, it's what we call a brain fart. Yeah. So it's, right. So, but yeah, no, like I would love to work there. And I don't know, just I love traveling. So it's one of my favorite things to explore other cultures and you know, that's another thing. Indiana Jones kind of like had that mysterious thing about exploring for treasure and going to like Jordan, going to Petra, Jordan. Like I'd love to see that. I think they filmed Indiana Jones 3 there. They
Yeah.
had a lot of scenes that were filmed there. So it's like, you know, and these were the days without the CGI stuff. Like you had to go there, and so it's or they had to build huge sets in these studios. Today, everything's CGI. It's just special effects, and you know, unfortunately, it's like that now. But it's like I would love to film there. I'd love to. Yeah, there's many places that you know, Mexico, love like I love Mexico. And love to film in some of those areas there, like the Mayan temples and you know and stuff like that. Yeah, I love the stories of adventure and action. And you know, I have a movie that I'm trying to produce now, and it's supposed to take place in Mexico, and it's about the border crisis. It's an action film that's based around the border crisis, and me being one of the lead actors and one of the main producers on it, we're trying to get off the ground. I can't talk too much about it, but you know, it kind of takes you, you know, when you go to a different location, it really makes you be part of that story. Like you just morph to that character. You morph into that story. You get into that story. It's just something that happens. Don't get me wrong, filming here in LA is great, but when you have to travel, like one of my favorite jobs ever. I know this is might sound weird. It was a Lifetime movie. I know it's a Lifetime movie. It hit me hard, trust me. But where we filmed, it was Turks and Caicos, and we
Oh.
filmed for almost a month in Turks and Caicos in paradise in a one of the islands called Grand Turk. It was not as developed. I had like my own. I actually think, from what I understand, from what they told me, where I stayed was in this house, and the suite that I stayed in was actually Queen Elizabeth's. It. I was like, what? She stayed in here. And he's like, oh yeah, this was her main thing. I was like, oh my gosh. So it was like, that was cool. And literally a block away was the beautiful crystal clear blue ocean that I'm a scuba diver. So I'm a certified scuba diver. So on my off days, that's all I did with a bunch of British guys who owned this little company that were divers. And I went diving with them like every other day. It was like such an experience, to go through. You're working and then you're playing, but work never feels like work. And I had like such a great experience with that. As a location, that was wonderful. So yeah, there's many places I'd love to see, and there's places that I'm probably can't even think about right now, that will probably come to me as I go through life, and we'll probably see some sort of beauty. Like I would even love to go to Alaska, places like that, or maybe even film something in Iceland, like something like that. That's like really cool. Even though I'm not really a cold weather guy. I'd rather have the heat.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm from Miami, Florida. Cuban, blood, Cuban American blood. So it's just kind of that would be hard to take. But you know what? I'm all about the experience.
Yeah.
So people, if it's painful, you're gonna feel something. Think about that.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel something. My father always told me, you never learn from the good, you always learn from the bad. So it's another thing. It's like negatives. People need to learn how to turn negatives into positives in their life. And I think, like even with stuff that's going on in my life right now, like I have to take that negativity, which is probably not not negativity, it's probably a blessing in disguise, and turn it around and use that and embrace it into morph into something bigger and better. So,
Yeah, and like
how did
filming
we get on that
location.
tangent of positivity again? Well, there you
Well,
go.
no, it's perfect. And filming location wise, it's great. Like, actually, it's interesting with Petra Jordan, just on Indiana Jones. Yeah, that's actually a different film. That's actually not Last Crusade. But I was having a conversation with someone
Hmm.
recently, and I was the one who had to reveal to them, you do realize that Petra is it's a real place. You can go there. They were like, no way.
Yeah,
No, I thought that was a
yeah.
set. And I was like, no, no, no. Let's go to Jordan. Yeah, let's go to Petra right now. Well, I'm not there now, obviously, but it's a real place. And like, I don't like London as a city. I think I'm a big skyscraper guy, but I
Hmm.
think London skyscrapers aren't great. They have a couple good ones, but overall, it's just not really my type of place. I prefer Vienna, Budapest, Prague, these type of capital cities. But when I was in
Okay.
London, my biggest joy was going to a random bridge on the Thames River, where Chelsea
Hmm.
district or whatever it's called starts, because that's where they filmed a scene in A Clockwork Orange. So I was walking on that bridge thinking, yeah,
Oh
this is
yeah.
this is where they filmed
Oh
it,
yeah.
and I posed, where all the actors were at the time. So that was a big joy for me, seeing the film set, because it was a real film set. It wasn't just like a constructed
Yeah.
set. It was a real location. Love that. So I think
Yeah.
while I'm in the UK, I'm still definitely going to do more tours of any good Kubrick filming locations. That's definitely for sure.
Oh,
Now,
that's cool. Yeah,
there's actually a weird one where they
that's
filmed
great.
Eyes Wide Shut. The mansion is now abandoned, so that's a bit of an interesting
Oh
one.
wow,
But I think it's
that
illegal
is
to
interesting.
like
Yeah.
I think it's illegal to go there because of like trespassing. So I need to figure something out, or maybe just not go to that one officially. But yeah,
Right.
Eddie, just because to keep going on to that positive, deeper aspect of it, I how would you like to be remembered?
Ooh.
Very deep, I know.
How short can I keep this answer? Um, that goes back to that goes back to kind of maybe envisioning your own funeral and how many people will be there and what will people say about you. Um, and on your last day of your life, which obviously we don't really have that planned, um, who would be next to you? Um, well, I might even get choked up on this, but and why I don't know. I'm an emotional guy. I am, but which I always try to keep, strong in, because it's kind of it's our alpha nature. But I want to be remembered as just a really generous, selfless, good-hearted, fun-loving person that just brought a lot of smiles to people, and you know, just gave a lot of love uh, to people out there. And when I say people out there, family, friends, even people I may not even know. If I can bring a smile to their face by something I post, or by just meeting me or having a good conversation with me, um, there's something to be said about that. And I think, I mean, yeah, we can all be famous, we can all be movie stars, or you know, but when it comes down to it, you're not taking that with you. So I think what people will remember is their interactions with you, and the connection that they had with you, whether it was a day, a season, years, or a lifetime. Um, that's how I would like to be remembered, in a very positive way. You know, that Eduardo, which is my real name, it was just a very good-hearted and generous and loving man who gave his all and did his best to give to others, and of himself, and just tried to brighten people's day. You know, yeah,
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 beautifully.
and that includes mentoring. Yeah, that includes mentoring, and if I would love to be a mentor to people. You know, it's funny, psychologists and psychiatrists, even though they have the title, are people that need therapy too. So it's like, it's one of those things that I think we all need each other in some way or shape or form, and we all make mistakes. We're not perfect people, and I think there's no such thing. And whoever tells you that is, be careful with that person. But it's just, you know, we're not perfect people, and I think sometimes even people like with that kind of title, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, you know, they're helping others, and um, and through conversations, and through hearing other people and listening, just listening, and kind of having that compassion and empathy, and you know, and if that person wants your advice, give it back. You know, this is my advice, and just having that, you feel it. You know, when you fall in love with somebody, you feel it. It's unexplainable, but you feel it. Um, yeah, you know, it's kind of that feeling. You know, it's that feeling that I want people to remember me for. Yeah, yeah. Of course, wow, he was very talented, and you know, he did great in his movies and his shows and all that stuff. That's fantastic, but that's not what matters. I think what matters is the hardcore person in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and of course the Gallo 24 as well. Surely.
always, always,
Yeah.
always. That, damn it, let's do a spin-off.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That should be a movie title. Gallo
Yeah, always
24.
the Gallo
That should
24.
be. Yeah. That should be the movie title.
Why don't I should throw a curveball and be like, well, this time I decided to go with the 12. So why not?